The alien council, in their relentless pursuit of domination, underestimated Earth's most ancient ship, a rusted, outdated dreadnought. They mocked it, dismissed it as obsolete, until it tore through their armada with precision and fury. What they thought was a relic turned out to be a nightmare in disguise. And Earth hadn't even fully awakened yet. The alien council, perched in their massive, chrome-plated chamber, laughed as they watched the human fleet approach. The image projected before them was almost comical, a fleet of ships made up of what appeared to be outdated, rusty relics. Earth, it seemed, was still clinging to the past, unable to evolve as the galaxy had. The ships were old, their design primitive. The Dreadnought, the flagship of Earth's fleet, looked like little more than a derelict hulk, abandoned and left to rust in the void. Is this the best they could muster? One council member sneered, his voice dripping with derision. Primitive. Vessels cobbled together, barely space-worthy. This should be over before it begins. Another council member, tall and imposing, scoffed in agreement. Their arrogance is their undoing. We'll crush them like insects. The High Commander, a leader who had crushed empires and wiped out civilizations, shook his head in disbelief. Earth is nothing but a pathetic, weak world. The very idea of them standing against us is laughable. The alien fleet was positioned perfectly, ready to decimate the human ships in seconds. They were powerful, technologically superior in every way. The ships of Earth looked so far behind that it seemed impossible for them to stand a chance. The council members were so certain of their victory that they didn't even take the time to strategize. The battle would be over quickly, but then something strange happened. The first blast hit from the Earth Dreadnought. The energy pulse was so massive that the shockwave sent ripples through the space around them. The alien fleet immediately countered, launching their own volleys, confident that their shields would hold strong. But to their surprise, Earth's shots hit with pinpoint accuracy, bypassing their shields entirely and tearing through their hulls. The High Commander's eyes widened as he watched one of their most advanced ships fall in an instant, its systems completely disabled by a single hit from the Earth Dreadnought. They're not supposed to be able to do that, he shouted, a mix of disbelief and panic flooding his voice. They're not supposed to be able to do anything. Another council member cried, watching as another alien ship exploded into a fiery cloud of debris. The Dreadnought, ancient, rusty, and seemingly outdated, continued its assault. Its shots rang out like thunder, each one finding its mark with ruthless efficiency. The council watched helplessly as their once invincible fleet was torn apart by the very ship they had dismissed as nothing more than a relic. They thought it was mercy. The High Commander muttered under his breath. The Dreadnought's weapons were old, its design archaic, but it didn't need to be advanced. It didn't need to be flashy. It just needed to do one thing: survive. And it had survived everything the galaxy had thrown at it. And now it was showing the alien council just how wrong they had been. We need to regroup, one council member said, panic rising in his voice. We need to call for reinforcements. This is impossible. The High Commander snapped. No, this is our fleet. We are the galaxy's masters. We cannot be beaten by this rust bucket. But the Dreadnought continued its relentless assault. It was no longer about technology. It was about willpower. It was about humanity's refusal to give in, and that refusal manifested in the very ship they had dismissed as outdated. The ships of Earth, though outmatched in numbers and size, fought with a fierce, brutal intelligence that the Alien Council had never anticipated. As the alien fleet tried to recover, the Dreadnought's weapons slammed into their ships with ruthless precision, knocking them out of formation one after another. The rusted, seemingly broken hull of Earth's flagship tore through their forces, its every movement a testament to the strength of humanity's resolve. A loud bang echoed throughout the bridge, followed by the sudden shrill of alarms. The walls trembled, and the lights flickered as the alien ships tried to escape the wrath of Earth's dreadnought. They're retreating. One of the council members gasped, the realization dawning on him with growing horror. No, the High Commander whispered, his voice trembling. This can't be happening. The last of their fleet was scrambling now, unable to regroup in time. Earth's ancient ship, its once dominant systems now considered relics, had torn apart their pride, their power, and their confidence in the blink of an eye. The tide of battle had turned, and the council members had no idea how to stop. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. The words echoed in the High Commander's mind as he realized the full weight of their mistake. They had dismissed Earth's primitive power. They had laughed at it, believing it would be easy to crush. But now, Earth had made them pay for their arrogance, for underestimating the sheer will of a species that had never stopped fighting. And that was before Earth even responded. The alien fleet had barely regrouped when the next wave of destruction hit. The High Commander's hands were shaking, his grip tight on the armrest of his command chair. It was almost too surreal, the once mighty Armada that had torn through the galaxy with ease, now scattered and broken by a single, seemingly outdated ship. Earth's rusty Dreadnought, the one they had laughed at, the one they had so carelessly dismissed, had destroyed their pride and shattered their confidence. Report! The High Commander barked, his voice strained with frustration. The comm officer, pale and breathless, struggled to regain control of the chaotic system. Sir, the remaining ships are attempting to form a defensive perimeter, but it's futile. The Dreadnought is. It's just relentless. They're bypassing our shields with pinpoint accuracy. We can't stop them. A burst of static interrupted the comm officer's report. The transmission from the remaining fleet commanders crackled through the speakers, desperate and filled with panic. High Commander, we cannot withstand much longer. The human dreadnought is tearing through us, requesting immediate reinforcements. We need backup now. The High Commander's mind raced. Reinforcements? It was too late for reinforcements. Their fleet was already losing the battle. He had underestimated Earth. They had all underestimated Earth. They're using tactics we didn't anticipate, the High Commander muttered, more to himself than to the others. The Dreadnought didn't rely on flashy weapons or high-tech armor. It wasn't the most powerful ship, but it was something else entirely. It was clever. It was resourceful. And now it was systematically tearing apart everything they had built. Send out the distress signal, one of the council members urged, his voice quivering. We need to call for help. If we don't, but the High Commander shook his head. No, there's no point in calling for help. We've already lost. We'll never get to Earth in time to stop them now. He watched, helpless, as the image of their fleet appeared on the screen, their ships splintering and breaking apart under the onslaught of Earth's weaponry. The once pristine warships, gleaming and powerful, now lay in ruins, their bodies adrift in space. They were no match for a ship that was decades, if not centuries, older. The comm officer looked at him, his eyes filled with dread. Sir, Earth's Dreadnought is turning toward us. It's coming for us now. It's not waiting for us to regroup. It's coming straight for the heart of our fleet. Move! The High Commander shouted, Get us out of here. We need to retreat. Now, but it was too late. The Dreadnought fired again, its weapons booming in the silence of space. Another alien warship exploded, its massive frame tearing apart under the force of the blast. The Dreadnought moved with an unnatural speed, almost as if it were guided by some higher intelligence. Its shots hit with perfect precision, bypassing shields and causing catastrophic damage. The High Commander's heart sank. The once untouchable alien fleet had been reduced to nothing more than debris. The hum of their engines was replaced by the ominous silence of defeat. Their forces had been shattered. Earth's ancient, rusted dreadnought had turned their greatest strength into a weakness, had torn them apart in ways they couldn't even fathom. "Signal the retreat," the High Commander ordered, his voice hollow. "Get as many ships out of here as possible. Earth has already won. We're finished." The remaining ships of the fleet, once so proud, now turned and fled into the dark abyss of space. There were no victory speeches, no triumphant roars. There was only the crushing reality that they had failed. Earth had beaten them not by force, but by cleverness. It had taken everything they had, and now it was clear. Earth had shown them the limits of their own power. "We can't let this stand," one of the council members said, his voice trembling. "We can't just let them destroy us like this." "Enough," the High Commander snapped, his voice edged with despair. "There's nothing left to fight for. Earth has already won." For a moment, the council members fell silent. There was no fighting back. There was no turning back. They had underestimated Earth, and in doing so, they had lost everything. The image of Earth's dreadnought, battered but still standing, flickered on the screen. The ship had torn through their fleet, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The High Commander watched as the last of the alien ships attempted to flee, but it was futile. Earth had already laid claim to the galaxy's future. As the alien fleet retreated, leaving behind the remnants of their once glorious empire, the High Commander's mind was consumed by one thought. How had they been so wrong? They had declared Earth primitive. Earth had never bothered to declare back. And now the galaxy would know the price of underestimating humanity. The darkness of space felt different now. The once unyielding hum of the alien ships had been replaced by the eerie silence of retreat. The fleet, once the galaxy's most feared, now drifted in disarray. The alien ships, their hulls marred by battle scars, moved sluggishly as they attempted to flee the wrath of Earth's dreadnought. The High Commander stood frozen at the center of the command room, staring out at the vast expanse where their pride had once been. The dreadnought, battered but still relentless, loomed in the distance, its weapons still firing, its mission clear: destroy. "How did we miss this?" one of the council members murmured, his eyes glued to the display. "How could we have been so blind?" The High Commander's jaw clenched as he watched the destruction unfold. He had seen his empire crush planets, devastate entire civilizations without a second thought. But now his own fleet was reduced to a disorganized mess, unable to respond effectively to a single ship. A ship that, by all accounts, should have been an easy target. Earth's dreadnought wasn't supposed to be a threat. It wasn't supposed to be able to do this. "We thought their silence was weakness," the High Commander muttered, as though the realization had just struck him. It was a trap, a carefully laid trap. The officer, her face pale, turned toward the High Commander. "Sir, we've lost contact with the fleet. Our communication systems are down. Earth has jammed everything." "No," the High Commander whispered, his voice trailing off. "No, this can't be happening. We control the galaxy. We can't be stopped by them." The words felt hollow. The dreadnought was still firing, and alien ships were being picked off one by one. There was no resistance. The alien ships, once masters of space, were now helpless. Earth had proven what no one had ever imagined, that a primitive species could, in an instant, become an unstoppable force. The first explosion came suddenly. A mighty warship, a symbol of the Empire's technological supremacy, broke apart under the blast of the dreadnought's energy beam. The shock wave reverberated across the fleet. The alien ships veered wildly, trying to evade, but their movements were disjointed, uncoordinated. Another one down, the officer whispered. The High Commander felt his pulse quicken, his heart racing in his chest. "We have to stop this," he snapped. "We can't let them take the entire fleet." A loud, blaring alarm suddenly pierced the room. A new warning flashed across the screen. Critical system failure. Entire fleet under attack. The Dreadnought was still firing, its ancient weapons tearing through the alien ships with clinical precision. There was no mercy, no hesitation. It was as if Earth had known exactly what weaknesses to exploit, knew exactly where to strike. The High Commander clenched his fists, the weight of their downfall pressing on him. "We can't fight them directly. We have to outmaneuver them. Get us out of here. I want all remaining ships to regroup and make for the nearest exit. We'll fight back." Well, a loud bang interrupted him, followed by a shudder that rattled the entire command room. The floor beneath them trembled as if the very ship was groaning in pain. The High Commander stumbled, his knees giving way slightly before he steadied himself against a wall. "Sir, we've lost another vessel," the officer reported, her voice shaky. "The Dreadnought, it's too powerful. We can't outrun it." "Not another one," the High Commander breathed, a bitter taste in his mouth. "Get us to safety, now." The last of their ships began to retreat in unorganized chaos. There was no plan, no strategy anymore. They were fleeing like a pack of frightened animals, and Earth's Dreadnought was the predator. The gap between them and the Dreadnought closed quickly. "We're too slow," one of the council members said in desperation. "We can't outrun it's too fast." The High Commander's gaze hardened. "We can't run forever. We need to turn the tables. We need to outwit them." "How?" another council member asked, disbelief in his voice. "They're overwhelming us." "What do we have left?" "Everything," the High Commander said, his voice steadying. "We have our cunning. We have our will. And if we must, we'll use every last weapon at our disposal." The Dreadnought loomed large on the viewport now, its weapons charging. Again, the alien ships were running out of time, out of room to maneuver. The High Commander gritted his teeth, but there was no way to fight back. They were no longer in control. "This is madness," one council member whispered. "We're defeated." "No," the High Commander snapped, turning to face them. "This isn't defeat. This is a lesson. We underestimated them. Now we'll show them what happens when they push us too far." But even as he said the words, he knew that this wasn't just a fight for their empire's survival, it was a fight for something deeper. Earth had already proven that it could outthink them, outmaneuver them. Earth's strength was not in its ships or weapons, it was in its ability to learn, to adapt, to survive. The Dreadnought's weapon fired again, and the screen went white. The explosion shook the remaining alien ships to their core. The High Commander's grip tightened on the chair. He didn't need to look to know what had happened. Earth had won, and they had done so with ruthless efficiency, for the first time. In his life, the High Commander understood the full cost of arrogance, and as the last of their ships scattered, fleeing into the void, he realized one harsh truth. Earth hadn't fought them, they had simply outlasted them, and that was before Earth even responded. The alien fleet was broken. Its once proud ships were now nothing more than drifting debris in the vast expanse of space, scattered and helpless. The High Commander stood alone in the command room, staring out at the wreckage of his empire. The last of their ships, the last flicker of their pride, was in retreat, scattered and fleeing from a threat they hadn't been prepared for. The Dreadnought, the rusty, ancient vessel from Earth, had torn them apart with a precision and ferocity that left the High Commander numb. The officer's voice crackled through the silence, a weak whisper in the storm of Defeat. Sir, the last of the fleet is retreating. But it's too late. We can't escape. Earth has us cornered. The High Commander didn't respond. What was left to say? Their entire strategy had crumbled. The arrogance that had driven the alien empire for centuries had led them here to this moment of utter collapse. Earth, with its seemingly primitive technology, had turned the tables. What they had thought was an outdated, rusty warship had proven to be a devastating force. A force that had dismantled their fleet, their communications, their very sense of invincibility. The comm officer's voice interrupted his thoughts again. Sir, Earth is sending a final transmission. It looks like they're preparing to make the kill. The High Commander's mind raced, but his body remained still. Put it through. The screen flickered, and once again, the chilling calm of Earth's message filled the room. There was no boastfulness, no gloating. The words were cold, simple, and final. Your empire is finished. Surrender, or we will erase you entirely. You had a chance, but you squandered it. We are done waiting. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. There was no mercy in them, no room for negotiation. Earth had already made its judgment. The High Commander's grip tightened on the armrest of his chair. His mind flickered back to the earlier messages, to the warning they had received. They knew we would come. Earth hadn't just been waiting, they had been preparing. They had used the time to learn, to evolve, to become something capable of this moment. And now, the High Commander had no choice but to face the consequences of their empire's greatest failure, underestimating Earth. They think this is over, he muttered under his breath, his voice low but filled with an edge of defiance. One of the council members, trembling and wide-eyed, dared to speak. What do we do now, sir? If we fight back, they'll wipe us out. If we surrender, we lose everything. The High Commander stared at the screen, watching as the Dreadnought, that once ignored vessel, hovered ominously over the shattered remnants of their fleet. It was as if the ship was watching them, waiting for them to make the final decision. We surrender, the High Commander said, his voice resigned but unwavering. But not like this, not with our heads bowed in shame. Earth will learn that even in defeat, we are not weak. A tense silence filled the room as the council members exchanged wary glances. The weight of their collective humiliation was suffocating, but there was no arguing with the facts. Their fleet had been decimated. They had no resources left to fight, no hope of winning. Their only choice now was survival. We send a message, the High Commander continued, his voice steady. We show them we will not beg. We will surrender, but on our terms. The comm officer nodded, fingers trembling as he prepared the transmission. Understood, sir. Sending message now. The High Commander straightened, his eyes narrowing as the final message was transmitted to Earth. It wasn't a plea for mercy. It wasn't an apology. It was a declaration. We surrender. But know this, we will rebuild. You may have defeated us today, but we will rise again. The galaxy will never forget who we were. As the message was sent, the High Commander leaned back in his chair. His heart was heavy with the weight of their downfall, but there was no room for regret. In that moment, he understood the bitter truth. The Empire was gone, but the spirit of resistance, the drive to survive, would live on. Earth had shattered their pride, their power, their hubris. But they had not destroyed the will to fight. The finality of their situation was stark. The Dreadnought loomed closer, its presence an undeniable reminder of Earth's victory. And yet, as the High Commander stared at the screen, a strange sense of clarity washed over him. Earth had shown them something they had long forgotten. That strength wasn't just about weapons or technology. It was about knowing when to act, when to wait, when to show restraint, and when to strike. and they had struck not out of rage but out of necessity. Earth had given them no choice. A transmission interrupted the High Commander's thoughts. Earth was replying. The screen flickered, and once again the cold, direct voice of Earth's representative filled the room. Consider yourselves fortunate. You will live. But understand this, you are no longer a threat. You are no longer a part of the galaxy's future. We gave you a chance to learn, to grow, to evolve. Now you will watch as we rebuild the galaxy in our image. The High Commander's gaze hardened. Earth's victory was undeniable, but their message was clear. This was more than a simple military defeat. This was about dominance. This was about erasing their legacy, their very place in history. But even as he stared at the screen, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of something within him, a reminder that no empire, no matter how great, could ever be truly erased. Earth had won today, but the future was still uncertain. The High Commander had seen empires rise and fall, and no matter how humbling their defeat, the future would always hold room for the unexpected. They may have lost this battle, but the war for their place in the galaxy had not yet been won, and that was before Earth even responded.